Hey guys, SoCal Val here. You are listening to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast.
Welcome everybody back to the Hitting the Turnbuckle channel. I am your host, Adam Cousins, and I am joined by the very tired, weary, week from hell that he's had, Mr. David Robinson. Good evening, mate. You all right?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. How are you?
Oh, good. All good. It's Friday at the time of recording. A very busy weekend of wrestling to come. But first, we need to get out of the book AEW. So, let's begin. There was no real news this week from AEW. It's been quite a quiet week for AEW, unlike some other companies that has been slightly more noteworthy stuff going on. But we'll talk about that on another show. AEW kicks off with the World Heavyweight Champion Samoa Joe, and he was interrupted by Hook. Basically, they shook hands. Hook said, kind of like the better man, one kind of speak, then he'll pretty much have to go to the back of the line to get another shot. Pretty fair, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. I, I don't I love Samoa Joe.
Mm.
And I really enjoyed that he came out and started off Dynamite.
Yeah.
But just the interaction was just a little bit strange with Hook.
Mm.
It suited Hook's character to just say, um, you won, I lost. But and shook his hand. Um, but then for him to just attack the security guards,
Yeah.
I don't know, mate. I thought this, and I'm gonna say it off the bat. I thought this was the worst episode of Dynamite that I've seen for a long time. Um,
Mm.
I'm a huge AEW fan, you know that. Anybody that watches this podcast know that. I just thought this episode was so disjointed. There was a lot of good wrestling on it. Um, but as soon as this interaction kind of finished and Joe's music hit and Bill, it yeah. It was like dominoes, really. Every other segment, or pretty much, went in a similar fashion. I just didn't think it was a good episode. It wasn't helped by the crowd.
Yes.
Um, we will always say when there's a good crowd and how good the crowd were. This crowd was terrible, and I don't know whether that was because it was too big an arena and not enough seats had sold. That might have something to do with it because there were rowdy people in the front few rows. You could see that from the camera, but
Yeah.
the atmosphere in general just seemed dead. It seemed silent at times. Like there was no noise at all. I don't know what you think of that, mate, but I don't think this was a particularly good episode of AEW Dynamite this week.
Crowd was crap, definitely. Yeah, we'll get into my feelings on it. Pretty much agree with you. Disappointing show. There was some notable nice bits, and we'll get to one of them
Yeah,
pretty much now, which was the opening contest, was Penta Miedo. That was quite a good pronunciation, wasn't it?
good man.
Is Hangman Adam Page. Look, this match was a really solid wrestling match, and both men's focus was really on the AEW Championship on this. Um, Page has got like his mustache is going to be like yours. At the minute. But he's going to be like yeah, he's going to be like Magnum TA.
Yeah, yeah, I've seen that comparison as well.
But he wins it with the old buckshot lariat. Wasn't really a surprise that Page was going to win it, but it was still a really good opening contest.
It was good, and not every match needs a story.
No,
And as you say, they are kind of vying to be challengers for Joe's title, and the rankings are coming back. So maybe if we saw some, more stats and stuff. Well, obviously they're coming back, but they're not back yet, as such is my understanding.
yeah,
I just there was no story. There was no reason for this match to happen.
no,
Um, and it's the same with Jeff Hardy and Swerve, and it's the same with the main event with Copeland and Suzuki. I mean, you could argue that Copeland has issued an open challenge,
yeah.
but why is Suzuki accepted? Like it's just a bit lazy for me. There could be reasons as to why these matches are happening. They don't have to be a massive story or a huge reason. you know, just give me something, because the in-ring stuff is great, but there's more to a good wrestling show than just having good wrestling.
Yeah,
And that's some of the criticism that's levied at AEW at times. And I can usually just see the positives and try and put a better spin on it, but I'm struggling with this, mate. I'm struggling. I'll try. I enjoyed the match.
yeah,
I enjoy Hangman's new look, and he's kind of slight gear change or slight attitude adjustment, I suppose. We're seeing a slightly different side to him, and I'm enjoying that. And I think we're ultimately working towards Swerve, Samoa Joe, and Hangman in a triple threat match, which I'm down for. I think that would be a great match. Um, but it's not just about the destination, mate. It's about the journey, and yeah, I'll let you talk.
No, I agree with you on a lot of those aspects there, mate. They went backstage at this point. Rene Paquette was backstage. Cassidy had accepted Roddy Strong's challenge, sorry, for a Revolution, but he was going to continue wrestling. And there was going to be a match on Rampage, which the winner will determine who Cassidy wrestles on Collision. More on that when we do Collision, I suppose. Then it turned to Nick and Matthew Jackson as the only two remaining EVPs, and they fixed their catering problem pretty much, and it was pretty meh, really. That segment. I'm not sold on these new young bucks yet, to be quite honest with you. I'm not sure how you feel about them in a minute.
I quite like them,
Mhm.
but they came out and basically challenged Sting and Darby.
Yes.
So that's going to happen. But then we've got the Sting and Darby segment, which I know we haven't got to yet.
Yeah.
But it kind of just muddies everything for me.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a better way of doing this. I think the titles, if they were going to do that and put the titles on Sting and Darby, that could have been done sooner. Um, because yeah, we know it's going to be Sting's last match, so that kind of telegraphs the finish.
Yeah.
If you, Sting ain't going to retire as tag team champion, is he? And if
Mm.
he's gonna, they're undefeated, so they've either got to lose that match, which will be their first loss, to obviously Ricky Starks
Yeah.
and Bill. So they'll have their first match that they lose, and then they'll have Sting's last match, or they win the titles and have Sting's last match, which either Sting and Darby win and vacate, or Sting loses his last match after a really short title run. So again, it's just like things haven't really been thought through.
Mm.
Am I the only one feeling that way, mate?
No, mate.
I don't mean to be so down on it, and I don't mean to be so negative, but there's not much that was really they hit it out the park on this episode. Um, maybe as we go through it, that there'll be more that I'm reminded of, but I'm just thinking about the negative stuff at the minute. But yeah, in terms of the character, there's it's a different side to the Young Bucks, and there's definitely elements of comedy in there which I enjoy.
Mm.
Um, and I think they do some of their best work as heels.
Yeah.
Um, so it's something very different. Nothing, no one else is doing anything like that, and they're playing into the EVP stuff, which could make for some good stuff. So I just don't understand the situation with Sting and Darby.
No, that is very, very, very true. Yes, I'm at a bit of a loss about that myself, mate. So you're not the only one, and I don't think you're the only one out there that has that issue as well. We move on. Wardlow was next against Trent for the match. This was probably one of Wardlow's longest matches in about 17 years. It really was a long
Yeah.
match for Wardlow. I mean, he looked strong anyway. Trent looked good as always. Just couldn't overcome Wardlow's size, really. But the more important that was afterwards. Wardlow wins on this, but Trent was consoled by the best friends and shove Orange Cassidy to the floor. They make up quickly. Trent and Rocky stay in the ring together. Now, you said this last week, I think, when you were saying about how it's possible that we could be seeing a Trent heel turn. That looks as if those wheels are in motion.
Yeah, it looks like it. I don't think this has really helped Trent though. I mean, we used to see Wardlow in squash matches, and he has got more in his locker than that. And when it comes to pay-per-views and big matches, then we don't just want to see a squash match. But
Yeah.
I don't understand this one either. I just don't understand. I know I sound like a broken record, and I know we've got to have wrestling matches on a wrestling show. I want wrestling matches. But they've kind of been giving Trent a bit of a push of late and elevating him. There was no way in the world he was going to lose to Wardlow, was there? No way in the world. You knew for a fact Trent was not winning this match.
Yeah.
So, was there a better option? Could they have done this another way? Is there a better way or a story to lead to Orange and Trent going one on one than just this? Have him standing at ringside and he loses and he pushes him. I mean, just just a bit weak. Again, I don't really. I think they're dropping the ball a little bit with the Undisputed Kingdom. They
Mm.
really capitalized on the reveal. Roddy has issued the challenge to Orange,
Yeah.
which is for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Um, they could have even had an initial match and had a rematch at the pay-per-view. Um, yeah, it seemed like they put so much effort and time going into the Devil storyline. Now that that's concluded, they're struggling to get going again with new stories or other
Mm.
bits or moving those characters forward, moving that faction forward. I've got something else to say on that in a bit when we get on to the Acclaimed and Bullet Club Gold,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was my thoughts on the Wardlow Trent match.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I mean, as you say, Wardlow was always going to win that match, and it was just a case of how long, really. And you're right about the whole Trent thing. It's very weird at the moment, and it was a weird show in general, and we'll get a bit more into that in a minute. There was a nice video package of Copeland and Suzuki, as you say. There were no real kind of understand as to why that match come off. I didn't. Suzuki opened the challenge, so he travelled all the way to Japan from Japan to open to answer an open challenge, which is a bit of a weird one.
He
There was
could have
Tony.
just put a promo, couldn't he? Like
Yeah.
in Japanese with
Mhm.
subtitles. Uh, to some reason why he doesn't like Copeland,
Yeah.
or there could have been something. Then just
Yeah.
that's an open challenge. I'll go and accept that.
Yeah, exactly. They
Just
could have well been.
they're kind of living off the oh, it's a dream match. Oh, it's this, it's that.
Hmm.
There's got to, but you can't just throw that together and say dream match. You has to the why is important.
Yeah,
You know.
you're right.
It's not just like a lottery and everybody's names is in the hat and they pull two names out and go, okay,
Mhm.
they'll have a match. Like we
Yeah.
expect more from an episode of weekly television or weekly wrestling television. Um, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna try and cheer up.
Let's move on.
This is people who are watching this going, oh God, just moan, moan, moan. And I don't. This is rare for me to ever feel like
Yes.
about it, but I'm frustrated. I suppose I'm a bit disappointed. Is the word?
Yeah, and there's no reason. There's absolutely nothing against that being disappointed. So,
Yeah,
it is what it is, and it was one of those shows. They had a good fight. Tony Storm and Deonna Purrazzo face off. That was pretty funny. Obviously,
yeah.
Deonna was in color. Tony Storm was in black and white. They had
I really like that like camera trick
yeah,
or that way of producing it. Yeah, yeah, I wouldn't even be aware that they could do that, but because it was one shot, wasn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, I did think that was great.
That was good. They had their little coming together, and then there was obviously up there was a pump kick as well to Luther's face during that from Diona. That moving in that direction. That was a good segment. They cut to Moxley as well, and he's really going on this stage at he's kind of going on a stage where he's sort of like saying that AEW isn't the place to be. There's people that thinks they're elite that not, and people that paid their hard-earned money to see, and AEW is supposed to be the best wrestling company on the planet. Where are they going with that? You don't
Don't know, mate.
know.
Don't know. Again, it was as if they just decided on what to do half an hour before they've
Hmm.
gone live, you
Yeah,
know, or they've just said to the wrestlers, yeah, do what you want to do, like
yeah,
say what you want to say on the mic. That certainly, I mean, Sting and Darby.
yeah,
Sting said, "Okay, I'm all in." I know we ain't there yet, but uh, again, the bit with Hook, very brief. Samoa Joe's response to Hook, very brief.
yeah,
There was a number of things, a lot of the mic work. Um, yeah, it just wasn't good. I mean, what the way Moxley delivers his promos is one of the absolute best.
Yeah.
You say in terms of where they're going with what he's saying. Yeah, not sure, mate.
No, neither am I. It was a bit of a weird one. Then they had Taya Valkyrie and Johnny TV are back. There's this new girl trying to cut the line. I think that was obviously hitting at Diona Pizarro to set up a match. At least there was a reason for that. I mean, but there was again bringing them back. I mean, you had Queen Anamita who the last few weeks has been riding this crest of a wave, and then Taya Valkyrie's literally been doing nothing, and then now is kind of positioning herself really high up the card against someone that's going for the title.
Yeah, and also, like, are we just I know they're married and wrestling fans know that.
Yeah.
But in terms of characters on TV, like they've just been thrown together.
Yeah.
No, there's been no explanation. It
Yeah.
doesn't take much, particularly when they are married in real life.
Yeah.
Explain that.
Exactly.
A casual fan or somebody watching for the first time, or somebody watched last week and they're watching again this week, they're like, who are these? And why are they together?
Yeah.
I don't Johnny TV, John Morrison, he's a big name and people recognize him.
Mm.
But we haven't seen them on TV. I don't know if they've been on Ring of Honor together. Maybe
Yeah, I think
that's
they have actually. Yeah, they have.
yeah. But
Yeah.
in terms of Dynamite, Collision, Rampage, AEW, this is the first time we've seen either of them for a while. The first time we've seen Taya Valkyrie for, I can't remember the last time she was in a match on Dynamite. So again, more criticism, I'm afraid.
No, that's fine. And this is what these shows are all about, positives and negatives. And if there's a show that was fully negative, a lot of negatives on it, we have to deliver on it, whether that is what it is. And this is where I'm going to turn negative because the next match,
No,
fuck my life, Dave. Like Jesus, right? Swerve Strickland, Jeff Hardy. Thank fuck for Swerve Strickland. I mean, Jeff Hardy was so off it in this match. He was on another channel. Like it would literally like you'd have to switch from RTV4 to channel one with these two. Luckily enough, Swerve managed to just keep it together and get the victory. But Hardy was miles off these spots in this match. And I don't know. I just think AEW might have to start cutting their losses with these two in a minute because it was that could have really derailed Swerve in a way. It was awful.
Well, that leg drop thing on the guardrail looked very, very dangerous, to be honest. I
Yeah.
don't know if it was. It didn't look like natural the way Swerve bent over the rail.
Mm.
You know, I like Jeff Hardy. I've been a Hardy Boys fan for years and years. I wouldn't be against seeing a different side to them as a tag team,
Yeah.
but I I don't understand why we're getting Jeff having these singles matches. I just don't. What was the reason for him to face Swerve? You know,
It's Hardy so high up the card, like in terms of where Swerve is. I,
yeah, yeah.
it,
Yeah, there's no explanation for it, And the easy way to do it, if they were going to have these type of matches, the easy thing to do is a tournament. But they've done a lot of tournaments, and we've
yeah,
just come off the back of the C2. But there's more ways of just, you don't just have to have a tournament.
no,
But, there's ways you can get to matches. Every long as we watch wrestling,
yeah,
uh, but just pluck two names out and the heel and face dynamics don't seem to be, Hangman and Penta, both faces.
yeah,
Swerve, bit of a tweener. Jeff Hardy seems to be on the Hardy
heel
boys
turn.
look like they're going to be turning heel, which
Yeah,
that could be an interesting story, and I
yeah.
don't mind that. But as a tag team, I don't see. Again, was Jeff Hardy ever going to beat Swerve Strickland?
No, not this Jeff Hardy.
So no, and not what they've been doing with Swerve. If Swerve would have lost, if Swerve loses to anyone at the minute, there'd be criticism because of, he's riding high at the minute, and we're suspecting that at some point in 2024, he's going to be the AEW champion. Um,
Definitely.
he's not going to lose to Jeff Hardy, who's barely won a match
I think
since he's
it's
been
just
in the company.
I don't remember any match other than the tag.
He did beat, believe it or not, he beat Darby Allin the first time out when
Yeah,
like when he first came in.
yeah,
They've probably won a couple of tag matches, but they've lost more than they've won.
yeah,
Um, just again, so like Swerve's great. Everything Swerve does is fantastic. The way he carries himself, his entrance. I'm still enjoying Nana
Yeah.
uh, and his dancing. Like, crowd is so over, and it's not got old yet.
No.
Everything about Swerve, I love.
Yeah.
Um, but I just don't understand why he's facing Jeff Hardy.
Makes no sense to me. And again, if Jeff Hardy was way off the pace on this, and I don't know, I don't know, baffling. This episode was just baffling to me. Really was.
Yeah, I mean, he had the match with Darby last week, and
Yeah,
he
that was
did the
decent.
bumps, but there was no way of there was no follow up on this after the loss to Swerve.
No.
Camera just cut to the back. You
Yeah.
saw Matt Hardy getting in the ring, and I thought, well, they're going to do something here to
Mm.
develop the Hardy Boys story or
Yeah.
the heel turn or something.
Yeah.
He just lost, and that was it.
That was it. That was it indeed. They went to the back. Funny enough, Hangman and Swerve have a sort of pick your poison, my dealer's choice next week. So they've got matches that are being picked by them for their opponent. So obviously
Why?
that's not why.
Sorry. Yeah, why?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sorry, mate. I don't mean to shout at you.
No, no, it's fine. It's one of those shows. Yeah. Why?
Why?
You're right.
Yeah, why? Obviously, everyone knows Tony Khan is like the man who books the shows. He's that's addressed on television
Yeah.
as well as in real life.
Yeah.
Why has Tony Khan decided that Swerve and Hangman can pick each other's matches?
I
Like,
don't know.
there's a better way of doing it than that. Like, there's a better way of doing it.
There
I
is.
mean, I'm not. I'm not sitting here saying that I've got all the answers, but could they have got into a dispute? And it could have been brought up in that argument.
Yeah.
Like I'll face anybody. I'll face anybody. I'll beat anybody. Well, in that case, you face this guy. All
Wouldn't it have
right.
been better if Hangman had sort of said, like, I want to face you again, and you beat me twice, but I'll beat anyone. And Swerve says, well, next week, then I'll pick your opponent. And Hangman says, well, that's fine. And then I'll pick yours.
Exactly. It's done.
Yeah.
That's resolved, isn't it? There's a reason behind it.
Yes.
There's no
Indeed.
reason behind this. Was it Shivani told them you'll
Yeah.
be each other's opponents?
Big fan. Yeah.
Oh, well, like, oh man, yeah,
It's been a long week, everyone. That's for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Thunder Rosa.
There's some stuff I enjoyed, and there's a bit of stuff that's coming up in the review. We'll
Yeah.
get to. It's not all negative.
No, it's not. But sometimes, these things happen and you can't always be positive with stuff. That's the way it is. And that is wrestling. And there's going to be weeks leading up, I suppose, when WWE, when he goes to WrestleMania, that the shows are going to be crap because they've just got to fill it. So it's going to happen. It's going to happen on both shows. Just so happens it was this one this week on Dynamite. We move on. Thunder Rosa Red Velvet. Listen, it was okay. It felt like it never got going. There were some awkward spots in this. I mean, the building Thunder Rosa nicely for the return. Red Velvet got some offense in, but it just felt. I don't know again if there was a rush bit, if they were short on time, but it just felt as if it never really got going before it ended.
Yeah, yeah.
What can you say?
Right. It's exactly the same comment as regards to most of the other matches, other than the trios match, to be honest. Yeah, again, just a match for the sake of having a match.
Yeah,
Just Thunder's on away about it. Thunder's awesome. Velvet's a great wrestler as well.
yeah,
Really are, but there's no stakes again. And maybe once these rankings are back, and that's what they're going for.
yeah,
And matches can organically come together more based on the rankings. If there's a top 10,
yeah,
you got people trying to go from 10 up towards 1, and
yeah.
they're having matches against people that are above them to
Fine.
and maybe this week was that's what it was about, really. We've seen some of the competitors that are going to be in contention in the rankings. So we'll be seeing more Thunder Rosa, Red Velvet, and on the men's side, we'll see Penta, Hangman, Swerve, people like that.
Cool.
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe the fact that the Royal Rumbles this Saturday, kind of AEW, Tony Khan have thought, well, this week it's a big week for WWE, and we're not gonna book the strongest. I don't understand that
Yeah,
philosophy.
because I
That
mean
one.
booked a reasonably strong main event for Collision, haven't they? The Escape from the Cage 6-person, but not much else.
Yeah, it was as if Tony thought the Rumble was on Wednesday night.
Got the wrong day, Tony.
Yeah, the night that they've actually are up against the Rumble, they've got a cage match.
Yeah, and the thing is with that though, and this isn't a disrespect to AEW, the majority of wrestling fans are going to put the Royal Rumble on over anything.
Yeah, a lot of people, it's their favorite show.
It's mine.
Yeah, it's certainly. Yeah, I mean, I actually think WrestleMania past few years with the two over the 2 days is kind of the biggest show and one that I've enjoyed, particularly, night one past couple of years have been fantastic. But yeah, if I had to watch one show or one match type, it would probably be the Royal Rumble match.
Exactly.
And sometimes we kind of put it on this pedestal and sometimes it disappoints, or we don't get all the surprises we want, or, we set the expectations quite high. But we keep coming back every year. And I think it's the best part of 35 years now we've had the Rumbles.
Yeah.
So yeah, they can't compete really on Saturday, but it was as if they weren't competing on Wednesday, which again, some strong matches on paper.
Yeah.
Card for a house show or something, not for an episode of television.
No, definitely not, mate. We move on to the as you said, the Trios Championship. Acclaimed Daddy Arse versus the Mogul. Oh no, we didn't. I apologize. We moved to Sting and Darby Allin's in-ring segment. Pretty much what you basically said. Darby Allin's, they wanted Sting to finish his career on his own terms, but they are 27-0 and undefeated as a tag team. And it's asked Sting if he wants to end his career as tag team champion. And Sting says he's all in. Now, that match is in 2 weeks' time against Big Bill and Ricky Starks. So that rules that out as a ending of Sting's career. But as you say, the Young Bucks are still there. I'm not a fan of that if they win the titles, because it would either mean a vacation of title at Resolution, and you've not got too long. Well, you've got a month, so they're going to have to be like doing 5 or 6 title defenses on every, like literally you have to have title defense on every show to accumulate a decent run. So and if they lose against Big Bill and Ricky Starks, it kind of deflates the undefeated thing going into Resolution.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I said earlier, mate, it's a difficult one to navigate those waters now. It's like, I think there was an opportunity, probably for World's End, to put the titles on Sting and Darby. They could have done that, particularly when the match originally was Omega and Jericho. Meant to face them, and that was off. So they had a chance there to go, actually, Sting and Darby, they're undefeated and they've never had a tag team title shot. Put the belts on Sting and Darby, give Sting a little run with the belts until Revolution, and then drop them to the Bucks, or drop them to the challengers. I think, given the rankings, that's a difficult one now, because if Sting and Darby do win the titles, then the Bucks get a title shot. Well, Sting and Darby had to win 27 matches to get a title shot, and the Bucks just, so, they're not going to say it's a non-title match because it's Sting's last match. So as you say, they've either got to lose, or they've got to win and vacate the titles, or they've got to not defend the titles and vacate the titles. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm making a bigger deal out of it than it is, but it just doesn't make sense to me.
Doesn't make sense to me either, mate. But we'll see what happens. There's 2 weeks' time before that tag title match. But speaking of title matches, it was the trios next, Acclaim and Daddy Arse at Mogul Embassy. I think the match was good. I felt as if they were trying to cram a lot into this with nonsensical booking anyway. But they were trying to cram a lot into it, and it just felt a bit rushed. So it just kind of felt as if it existed with no real, say, meaning as such to it.
Yeah, well, this was the only thing. I like Castor on the mic. I thought finally somebody that's taken the microphone and they've done a really good job, as he always does. I thought his rap was really funny. He called Toa Leona the guy from Moana. I popped for. I thought that was funny. We have Moana on a lot in this house with a nearly 5-year-old daughter, a little girl running around. So yeah, I like that. I like the match. I like the fact that the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass faced them after Bullet Club Gold beat them for the titles last week, so it's consistent. But wasn't the reason Bullet Club Gold and the Acclaimed, the Bang Bang Scissor Gang, wasn't the reason that they joined forces was to take on the United Undisputed Kingdom? Sorry,
Yeah.
I thought that was the reason because they got taken out by the Devil and the Masked Men.
Yeah.
Previously, I thought that's why they were gonna
Yeah.
form a super group.
Yeah.
I know they chased them off last week, but is that it? Like, is,
Probably.
is that it? Like, were we not gonna have a faction war? You could have individual matches. Wouldn't that make more sense?
Yeah.
So I didn't mind this, and as I say, because it's their opponent, but they didn't mention that they could have Jay White could have grabbed the microphone after and say, you know, Undisputed Kingdom, we haven't forgot about you, or
Yeah.
I want to face. I could have faced anyone. I want to go through each and every one of you. Matt Taven,
Yeah.
um, Bennis, Rod. Nothing again, nothing. And I thought that was the whole reason of
Mm.
joining forces. So it seems like they've just forgot about that now.
Either that or the Bang Bang Gang are just using it to get a title shot eventually and just turn on them. But that would make no
Oh
sense.
yeah, there's that, and Jay White, what we've seen from him, and he's a great heel. So a
Mm.
prolonging as a baby face, which
Yeah.
when you're aligned with the Acclaimed, you are, and Bullet Club Gold were getting really good reactions.
Mm.
Uh, so they were tweeners, at worst.
Yeah.
Jay White, playing happy families with the Acclaimed, you do smell a rat.
Yeah.
Um, but at least kind of. Yeah, because he was taken out by the Devil and his Masterman, was he? Jay White was one of the first to get
Yeah. Yeah.
taken.
Yeah. He was. He had the first.
Yeah, and Bowens was thrown through the window. So there's
Yeah.
reasons there to get revenge, and they haven't got that
Not,
revenge.
not yet.
Um, so yeah, I think Jay will turn on. I think there will be a turn, and I think there'll be something interesting there because I think actually, Austin Gunn,
Mm.
um, in particular, really kind of likes, being back with the Acclaimed and his dad.
Yeah.
They're kind of so I think if it was a plan from Jay White all along to turn, I don't think Austin would be in on it. I think that would be an interesting way to go.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, not to kind of finish off that story or to continue that story is criminal. That's probably a bit much, but I think that's a mistake.
No, you're absolutely right. I agree with that. It doesn't make a lot of sense at all. We moved to the main event though, and it was obviously going to be the Cope Open, which has been decent. I liked Adam Copeland facing the younger talent. That was pretty cool. This
Yeah,
week it was a very much of the other side of that. It was the experience and the hard hitting Suzuki, and the match was hard hitting. Again, it didn't have a lot of time, I think, due to everything else that was going along. They did both bring it in this match. It's obviously a way to tick it off the bucket list for Copeland as someone that he wanted to do, because there's talk of him wanting to do the G1 and stuff like that as well in next year or so. Copeland obviously wins with the spear. There was a funny thing with Kill Switch and Suzuki that you pointed out to me
yeah,
during this as well.
yeah.
Copeland goes to shake his Suzuki's hand at the end. He pulls it away, and then basically he's still going for Christian Cage. So the main event was good, but again, the ending of this, and me and Andy said this on Raw this week, that they could have put the Punk Cody face off at the end because the main event match was kind of a bit drab. So you're talking about wanting to watch next week. WWE really got a pass there because the Royal Rumble's on Saturday. Everyone's going to watch that, and that's what's going to make people tune into Raw. But
Yeah,
with this, it just felt like, oh, that's it.
yeah, yeah. And Copeland again, you're usually very, very good on the microphone.
Yeah,
Grabbed the mic, kind of looked a bit impromptu, as if he just decided to do it and just said about a few words about Christian. And yeah, I think he did cut to Christian watching on at some point. I don't know if that was then or during the match. The match itself was okay. It was a bit of an exhibition match, I suppose. It was,
yeah,
short, as you say. Maybe they ran over in the first hour,
yeah.
because the second hour there did seem some time constraints. Unfortunately, the finish didn't look very good at all.
No.
He turned him around for the kill switch and kind of Suzuki's arms came detached and he kind of held them in the area where they should be, very
Yeah,
loose.
when he said arms came detached, his arms didn't fall off or
No, no, from where they should have been.
yes.
And they were just kind of resting. And as Copeland went down, Suzuki kind of jumped down. It looked bad, to be honest. I think they should have just gone with a spear. I saw. I guess what they're doing. Copeland sending the message to Christian and all that, but
Mm,
I think the spear could have been the better finish here.
mm,
But I know it's Copeland's open challenge and people are accepting the challenge, but I
mm.
don't see any reason why you can't issue a challenge. Saying, I've got this open challenge going on. I'll face all comers. But there's one person that
Yeah,
I've watched for years in New Japan, and he's been here in AEW. And I would love to test myself and go one-on-one with Minoru Suzuki.
yeah,
I think there's a reason, there's a story, there's an explanation as to why we're getting this dream match or we're getting this big main event.
yeah,
Uh, Not just announced on social media that Minoru Suzuki's accepted it. Why?
yeah,
No.
yeah.
But I've been saying that a lot during this.
It's been the AEW episode, really.
Yeah,
But
yeah. And there were some good things. I enjoyed Tony Storm. I
yeah,
think she's continued to do great work. And I think Mariah May and Luther bring something to that party as well. I think Luther's really good in this role as the silent butler.
yeah,
Yeah, I think, there's some good stuff. The Deanna Parazzo, she's going to have some really great matches. She's a great addition to the company. I'm glad Serena Deeb's on her way back. I think she's wrestling on Collision.
yes, he is.
Deeb and Parazzo is a match that I definitely want to see at some point.
Yeah,
Uh, so there is some positive stuff coming out of it. It wasn't all bad, even though it sounds like it was. I absolutely love Bullet Club Gold's entrance. I think it's
yes,
fantastic. We talk on this show, we've talked for years about wrestling mute. I think the theme, the presentation, the way the camera spins round, Colton's Peaky Blinders line, um, the pyro, I think is great. And it looked even better the fact that they had belts, they had the trios or the six-man Ring of Honor titles as well.
yes.
Um, yeah, I think there's some really good stuff. But it was just a bad story week.
The office, I think, is the way to call this. Actually, on Collision, that I don't know in terms of matches, and we're saying the reasons why. We could be asking the same question for some of this. I mean, obviously, Serena Deeb's back and in action, great.
Yeah,
Mariah May and Lady Frost. I don't know if there's been any build up to that. Not sure, but nevertheless, that's going on. Obviously, we've got the elimination cage fig, which makes a lot of sense. But there is one other match on this card that again seems to have been plucked out of air. Bryan Danielson against Yuji Nagata.
yeah. I mean, there's obviously the relationship with New Japan,
Yeah,
and we've got Forbidden Door, but that's not until the summer.
yeah,
So I understand them wanting to bring some of the New Japan stars to the American audience, and perhaps people that have gone into AEW in the last year, or they're introducing these people that might be part of Forbidden Door and doing a bit of
yeah.
future play. But that's all I can suggest. Again, yeah,
We'll see.
it's just a real difficult one. Again, I've said this. We don't need a story for every match. We don't need an explanation. We
No.
can have a few matches on the card that it just because it's a wrestling show.
Yeah,
No, we could have had Commander, and we could have had a luchador style match, or a tag match, maybe two contenders for the tag titles going head to head, and maybe they get a future tag title. Yeah, you can get all that without too much story, but there was just no story for too many matches.
indeed, indeed, indeed. I will dread to ask you for a score. I'm going for a 6. Well, 5.5 to be honest. A 6 for me. Again, I agree pretty much everything you say on this.
It's a 5 for me, mate.
It's a 5 from Dave. Well, look, guys, it's been wrapped
Lowest
up.
I've ever scored.
Lowest you've ever scored Dynamite, yeah. It was shocking, really. But that is it. The Dynamite review is done. Let's hope for a better Collision. Let's hope for a better Dynamite next week, and we can be a lot more positive than we are today. But, these things happen in wrestling, and you have to say it as it is. And we did. Simple as that. That was our true feelings on the show, unfortunately. But hopefully next week's Dynamite will be a lot better. However, I always thank you, as always, Dave, for coming on and chatting some wrestling with us. It's always good to see you, my friend. This has been the AEW review on the Hitting the Turnbuckle channel. He has been the problem child, Dave Robinson. I have been your host, Adam Cousins. But as it's always AEW time, Dave, it's down to you to end it off.
It's time to bid you all adieu, goodbye, mwah, and good night. Bye.